Hello and welcome to today's WMC Daily from the beautiful surroundings of Rolduc Abbey, just on the outskirts of Kerkrade. This is where the base is for many of the musicians who are attending either educational workshops or residential courses, and it's where the WMC Academy put their bands who are on their educational courses during the week. Last week we had the World Youth Brass Band and Brass for Africa based here. This week we've got two fantastic young wind bands, one from southern France and one from northern Spain, who have been working together with the genius that is Johan de Meij, and we were so fortunate here to catch up with Johan, and we'll be speaking to him later in today's show. Last night's concert at Kerkrade Theatre featured the Harmonie St Michaël Thorn with the Califax Quintet, and I have to say we were royally entertained. Ivan Mailmans was in total charge of this superb band, and the quintet of Calefax were just incredible. I have never heard reed playing as good as what we heard last night. Just to whet your appetite, here's a little snippet. Genius is a word which is used far too often these days. However, our next guest, it applies to him perfectly. A composer of world renown whose works are so individual, so energetic, so descriptive, and just plainly unique that genius fits the description perfectly well. We managed to catch up with Johan de Meij, who's conducting the two wind bands here this week and as a host of premieres here at the WMC. Here's what we had to say with him. We're delighted now here at the Rolduc Abbey near Cacrada to be joined by a genius. And I say that with all sincerity because Johan de Meij, some of the works that you have produced are genius. How do you...
Not all of them.
No, most of them. How do you even go about designing some of your works? Your mind must just work at a different level to the rest of us.
I don't know. It's that's the most difficult question to answer now. If people say, "Well, how do you do this? How do you write music?" Well, it's every time it's different. I don't have a concept or a recipe that I start with this, or I usually start with, of course, if it's a commission, then I know it's for this group or this level, or if it's a solo concerto, then it's a total different concept, of course. And I always have trouble starting, you know. I always have like a writer's block, and I don't know where to start, and I don't have any ideas. But it always comes to me, thank God. But it's hard work, especially in the beginning.
Yes. Okay.
When I'm sort of halfway the piece, you know, then the inspiration kicks in. People always say, "Well, where was your inspiration?" I said, I never start to be inspired. No, inspiration comes later.
Yeah. Okay.
It starts with transpiration. Yeah.
And how often will you edit your own works and go through? So how many changes will you make before start to finish product?
Not much. No, I have a very good program now. I still write by hand, you know, sketches.
Yes.
Not the full score, of course, anymore, but. And I work with Sibelius, and with Sibelius there's a program called Note Performer, which makes it sound almost real.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. So at home I can hear the piece several times, you know. It's like you can compare it with making or painting, you know, and you're like this, you're very close to the painting, but I sometimes just walk away and I go sit in the other side of the room and don't look at the score and then hit the play and listen, and I go, wait a minute. This is too long, or this is too short, or it's too abrupt in the transition. So that's the great thing about this program. So when I go conduct a piece for real, then there are not many surprises. I did make a change though. In the end of the piece you just heard, I thought, wait a minute, this is a little too fast. So I added 2 bars to it. I said, just repeat this one. And that was the trick.
Yeah.
Much better.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we've just been listening to The Year 2020, which you wrote during COVID, and it's going to get its Dutch premiere this week.
Yeah, I don't think it has been played yet. It's just come out, and it was written for a community group in the United States, Rockville, Maryland. And it was at the beginning of COVID, and I spoke to the director, who's a friend of mine, Juan Galistegi from Spain, and I said, would you mind? I mean, I was so, how do you say it, shocked, and what happened, you know, to the whole world. The whole world came to a screeching halt, you know, on March 12th.
Yeah,
I still remember, and I started writing in April, and I said, you know, I can't get my mind off it. Do you mind if I sort of base it on what's happening to us? They said, yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, the piece we've just been listening to, Johan, The Year 2020, you wrote this right at the start of COVID.
I did, yeah. There was a commission by an American community band from Rockville, Maryland. And I had sort of carte blanche, I could write whatever I want. But I was so taken by what happened to the world, you know, and in shock, and it was traumatic. It still is, you know. I mean, what happened to us for 2 years, you know, it's crazy. It was like every morning I woke up like I'm in the wrong movie, you know. But so I said to the commissioner, do you mind if I call it the year 2020 and sort of express my feeling how it was? So there's like a march kind of military movement after the introduction, which for me is a sort of in a sort of Shostakovich style, an army walking in, invisible army.
Yes.
Yeah, and you just heard the rehearsal, and it's pretty scary, you know. It's like, yeah, and then the footsteps remain, you know, like the soldiers walking away, and there's this one little oboe has this little cadenza, and then there's nothing. And then starts the second half of the piece, which has more hope and is more dynamic. But I ended in 2020, and I of course didn't know when the pandemic would end.
Yes.
So it had a big, loud ending and sort of major, and then towards the end of 2020, I said to Johan de Meij, the guy who commissioned me, I said, I'm going to change the ending because there is no reason for a nice, happy end, you know. So I made this very sort of still major, but just a fade out and soft, and that's how the year ended.
Yeah.
And 2021 wasn't even better. So.
Well, it wasn't, and of course it's still with us here in 22. It's affected some bands getting here to the WMC.
I know.
But you've been working this week, this beautiful setting.
Yes.
You've been working with two fantastic young wind bands,
yes,
one from Galicia and one
amazing.
from French, and that's going to all end with a concert tomorrow. How have they been to work with?
Oh, they were phenomenal. It was way beyond my expectation. I had no idea. I mean, the one group is from Les Landes in the southwest of France, the region north of Biarritz, and the other band is from the Federation of the Galician Bands, Galicia, so near Santiago de Compostela.
Northwestern Spain.
A Coruña,
Yeah.
And I know that region has a very good wind band tradition. I didn't know about France, but they are as good. They were phenomenal.
Yes.
I mean, they're all between 16 and 22 and fantastic kids. And I have been speaking French and Spanish and English.
Well, we were here last week as part of the WMC Academy because we had the World Youth Brass Band and Brass for Africa here last week. And this is also an outreach program from the WMC Academy. Terrific initiative.
Yes. And the main thing is not the concert. The main goal is you know, to work together, to have two cultures who are actually pretty close.
Yes.
Be friends, you know. The original plan was to sort of make a selection of the musicians, like the percussion of the Spanish band and the woodwind, the French band. And halfway, I said, why don't we just have them all play?
Yes.
You know, if you rehearse the whole week and then you can't play the concert, let's put it together. So we did, and they're now one by one. So Spanish, French, Spanish. It's
Beautiful.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And they sound like a band now.
Yes,
as
they do.
One orchestra. That's what I told them. I can't hear any difference between, or the fact that they're two bands put together. No, they sound fantastic.
No, I agree. It sounded stunning.
We worked it on. The only thing I had to work on was style. You know, I mean, technically, I didn't have to rehearse it. They could play anything, but it's just, you know, especially if you play outside, you have to play a little longer. You know.
Of course, yeah.
There's no acoustic.
No.
And I told you have to make your own acoustic. Just pound, pound, pound. We call that symphonic. You know, play symphonic.
Yes.
Every note has this length. Don't make rest between the notes, and they picked it up like that, and now they sound amazing.
I was very happy this morning because I was listening to the percussion, and I was thinking, come on, that needs to be louder, that needs to be more to the front. And you stopped the band, and you said percussion. I thought, great, it's on exactly the same wavelength. Now, this week has seen a host of your works being played in the lineup concerts. On Monday evening, we had the world premiere of Eclectical, Triticale. I hope I said that correctly.
No, the other Eclectical.
Sorry, my apologies. With Arno Peters.
Yeah.
And it was just a stunning, stunning work. Now, Arno was telling us that you worked on this together as a joint commission. Tell us a little bit about the history of that, please, Johan.
Well, I've known Arno for many years, and like 6 years ago, he started asking for a solo concerto. And he did it in a very funny way. He did it on Facebook, you know. For instance, when I was somewhere or I had vacation and said, you finally have time to start the Clarinet Concerto. He's been doing it as a gimmick for years, and every time it was so funny, you know. Or I was working on a baritone sax concerto, and he was sort of pissed off. I was like, hey, wait a minute. Anyway, COVID again came. And I had so much time on my hands, you know. I was working through my list of commissions and ideas. And then I said, okay, Arno, I'm in. So I went to see him, and that was in, when was it, September 2020, I think, or 21. But when I was in Amsterdam, I went to see him, and he just showed me some stuff, and we drank 2 bottles of red wine. And then I went home, and I started the piece, and it came quite easy, actually.
That's usually where the best starts come. Just before you start the 3rd bottle.
Exactly, yeah. I still have a bike in Amsterdam. I had to bike home. Anyway, it was a good start.
And what's the piece about, Johan?
Well, there are 3 movements. It's a Triticale, a triptych.
Yes.
The name came later. I had no idea. I just started. The first movement is actually based on a very happy song that I wrote for my grandchild, who turned 1 in 21. So yeah, I met him in September 21. So it actually went very, very fast. I started writing the end of 21, September 21. Yeah, not 20. So I wrote a very happy song for my little girl. She's 1 year old. I was almost 2 now, of course.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. And the song was like, Granny Rose, happy birthday, la la, ba da ba da da dee dee. And I wrote it for piano and cello and voice, you know, just very simple. But I couldn't get that tune out of my head the whole summer. And then I had to start on the concerto, and I said, well, maybe I'm going to recycle that. So that's the first movement, has the song in it, you know, and of course much more larger, and etc. Then the second movement is completely different. And it's sort of in the style of Steve Reich, you know, it's sort of minimalistic with mysterious chords. Completely different style, but it fits well. It's in the piece, you know. After the first piece, that's fast and pretty bombastic. Then this mysterious middle movement with a very fast, crazy chase in the middle, you may remember.
Yes, I do.
And then comes the third movement, which is another complete different story. It's more in Balkan style, you know, and Kachaturian, everything's there, klezmer. So then I thought, you know, there are 3 movements, they're very different, they're very eclectic. And then came the title. And let's make it Italian. Eclectical.
Fantastic. And I loved the accordion part that you put in there for the third movement. It just gave it such a traditional Balkan feel.
Klezmer band, you know, the double bass, 1 accordion, 1 trumpet, you know, like a little klezmer band. So yeah, and then the big end. So Arno was very happy with it. It is difficult. He really had to work hard to get everything there, but he did it. He nailed it. Yeah,
it was stunning, Johan. We loved every moment of it, and I know Arno did as well. We spoke to him afterwards, and he was absolutely thrilled. And then last night we had the Harmonie St, Michaël Thorn with Ivan Mailmans and the Califax Quintet.
Yes.
Another stunning concert.
It was amazing, yes.
Your work on Momento Dato.
Un Momento Dato.
Yeah. Which is a tribute to Johan Cruyff, the fantastic Dutch footballer.
This needs a little explanation.
I was going to ask you, how do you even go about starting a tribute to a Dutch icon of Johan Cruyff's stature?
Well, I'm a big fan of Johan Cruyff. I mean, I'm Dutch, you know. I've lived in Amsterdam most of my life. I lived like less than a mile from the Ajax stadium in the Meer. So, but Cruyff for me is such a phenomenal, brilliant person. But I saw the same qualities in Calefax, you know.
Yes.
Fast, funny, unpredictable. You know, Cruyff was. You never knew what he was going to do. Only he would know. And he was also, when he would speak, he would say such funny things. He had such brilliant one-liners, and one of them is Un Momento Dato. He became coach of Barcelona, and he didn't speak very well Spanish in the beginning. Later he was absolutely fluent, but But at the press conference, he wanted to say at a certain moment. But he's in Dutch we say at a given moment.
Yes.
So he said, "En un momento dado," and he looked. Now everybody knows.
And it stuck with him.
It became Spanish language. But at that time, it wasn't common to say un momento dado. But I thought, okay, that's it. And furthermore, in the score, there are more one-liners of Cruyff. Every movement has
a little title.
A little title, yeah. It's not in the program notes or in the parts, but I have to translate it. But I've never seen a bag of money make a goal. That's one of them. Or if I would like you to understand, I would have explained it better.
Yes.
You get that?
Yeah.
Or ieder nadeel heeft zijn voordeel. Dat is Dutch. Every downside has its upside.
Yes.
Or every disadvantage has its advantage.
Yes.
That's the most famous one.
Yeah.
Ieder nadeel heeft zijn voordeel. And then he speaks in an Amsterdam accent. Yeah? Ieder nadeel heeft zijn voordeel. Ieder nadeel heeft zijn voordeel. So, but in Amsterdam accent it's like that. And he was a boy from Amsterdam, you know. He was speaking this beautiful dialect or accent. Yeah, the Amsterdam language is interesting.
And how did you translate all that into music?
Well, the music has actually nothing to do with Johan Cruyff. No.
Okay.
Nothing. Zero.
There's no Ajax songs
no,
subtly written into there, or
no. The main theme comes from the name Calefax.
Yes.
C-A-L is a la, is a little grace note. T-da-da-da-da-dee. C-A-E-F-A.
Yes.
And that we figured out. I had dinner with the bassoon player, with Alban, and Raaf, the saxophone player. And then I said, has the name ever been put to music? And they did somehow. But so I wrote on the little
on the napkin.
Napkin, yeah. Or a beer coaster. No, it was a napkin. And I wrote the name down. So, dee da 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 dee. And I also thought it sounds familiar. Anyway, that became the main theme. You know, the quintet is sort of hidden in the orchestra.
Yes.
The oboe starts, and comes the clarinet, and they all get together, and the theme comes back in various disguises or various forms.
Yes.
Lum, bum, 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 bum. You know, like toccata or bum, 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 bum. Same thing. Dee, da, 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 dee. But I discovered that the famous clarinet solo in Tolle Oderspiegel van Richard Strauss.
Yes.
Bum, 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 are exactly the same notes except for one. The B. Dee, da, 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 dee, dee, da, da. So that's in there.
And that's where you'd heard it before.
Yes, yeah.
There's the familiarity.
And also, you may have noticed in the alto saxophones suddenly play. Dee, da, 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 dee, da, da, dee, da. That's, you know, Oh, the Beautiful Morning from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But there was another thing that I just couldn't find. It sounded so familiar. Dee, da, 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 dee, da. What is that? I didn't discover it until after the premiere. It was COVID again, and I just for fun started to make an arrangement of the music from A Midsummer Night's Dream by Mendelssohn. Why? Just I had nothing else to do, and I love the music, so I made a transcription for wind orchestra. And then I came to the wedding march, and there was da 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 dee, da da. That's it.
That's where it was from all along.
And I just couldn't figure it out. And then wait a minute, and you know it's the same key. Da dee is a C. Da dee da 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 da. So somewhere subconscious, it must have been in my head, you know. So
somewhere hidden away, and eventually it came out.
That's the story of Un Momento Dado, and I've been friends with Alban for maybe 3 decades. You know, we played in orchestras together as a bassoon player, and I was a trombone player. So and now I've become friends with all of them. They're phenomenal. They're such an amazing ensemble. The way they play, you know, and how they blend. And last night was absolutely the best I've ever heard.
It was incredible.
I've heard it 5 or 6 times now. Ivan Meilemans and the Harmonie from Thorn, fabulous.
Yes.
I mean, it was perfect.
Yes.
I was super happy.
Yeah, so you should be. We enjoyed every moment of last night's concert. Just truly, truly stunning. And we're going to get a second helping of the Califax Quintet tonight at the Wind and Dance Fusion concert in the Roda
Right.
Hall tonight. So we're going to be looking forward to that.
And there's another highlight coming up on the 27th. I have the big honor to conduct the United States Marine Band.
Which will be incredible.
The President's Own, yeah.
Yes.
I've conducted them once in 2018 in Washington with the 30th anniversary of my first piece, The Lord of the Rings, Symphony
Yes.
No. 1.
Yes.
And boy, that was an absolute highlight in my career to conduct that amazing band.
They are
They
amazing.
are fabulous.
So what can we expect in that concert from you, Johan?
We're doing the Dutch premiere, another premiere of the Painted Bird, another piece written during COVID.
Yes.
It's based on the novel by Jerzy Kosinski, and it's a very dark, very dark book. There's also a movie now, which I haven't seen yet, but it's about a little Jewish boy who's sent to the countryside in Poland in 1942 by his parents to get him away from the pogrom in Warsaw. And he's supposed to stay with some family, but they throw him out. And of course he looks different. He has a little darker skin and dark hair, and everywhere he goes, people spit on him and they kick him and they just abuse him terribly. It's not a fun book to read, but I've read it in the 90s, and again, like the year 2020, I wasn't in the mood to write something happy or it just.
No.
So the subtitle of the piece is called A Cry Against Fascism. And unfortunately that's still relevant, you know. For me it was more about our former, I'm not going to call him president, our former dictator. Well, you know what he did, you know. And I was so mad and afraid of what's happening in my country now, in the
Yes.
US.
Yeah.
I'm still Dutch, but I also have a US passport now. And I was in shock, and I still am, what's happening, you know. That fascism is growing, and right wing and all that stuff. So that's sort of a metaphor for me, which I also saw in that book. I mean, that's also about fascists and terrible things happening. So for me, that was sort of a way to write off my anxiety, my frustration, my fear, you know, and my shock about COVID and everything what's happening in the world. And unfortunately now with the Russian invasion, it's
Never
still
stops,
relevant.
does it?
I know. Fascism will never leave. That's very sad. But anyway, the piece is very, very intense. There's a long English horn solo, which is not played from the orchestra, but backstage.
Okay.
And of course, I did that on purpose to sort of express the loneliness. And of course, the English horn is the personification of the little boy.
Yes.
And it also has sort of a klezmer, a Jewish sound to it. So that's like after 3 minutes in the piece, and it ends with the English horn solo. A little different, but that's the end of the piece. The English horn going on the end. That's it, you know, no happy end. The boy survives. That's the only positive thing that comes out of the book.
Okay.
He doesn't get killed. So after the war, he's reunited with his parents. But yeah, it's a very, very personal piece and very dramatic. So, and then to conduct that with the United States Marine Band, that's going to be amazing. Yeah.
Yes, it will be. Well, when you write dark and intense stuff, it's so descriptive, Johan. And I can half imagine it now, and I can imagine the sold out audience because the concert's already sold out.
Oh yeah, it was sold out 2 months ago.
Yeah, it will strike such a chord with them. I can't wait to hear it. I think it'll be
wait
fantastic.
till you hear the first measure. It's the loudest scream that you can hear out of an orchestra.
Wow.
Ow! You know, everybody's on high notes and it flatterzungen and in the percussion, you know, it's like a bird's cry, you know.
Yes.
The painted bird, actually, I should maybe explain that, it was a barbaric tradition amongst Polish farmers. They would catch a bird, they would paint his wings, you know, with bright colors, they would release him again, and within minutes he was attacked by his peers and picked to death.
Wow.
That's almost what happened to the little boy, you know.
Yes.
He looks different, and
he's attacked.
yeah, by
My
humans.
goodness. Yeah.
So that's
My
the
goodness.
metaphor of the book, which is very, very striking. And So that cry is sort of like a bird, you know. It comes back like 4 times, and the beginning is so. The trombones are making low glissandos. It's very atonal, like mud, you know. There is a scene where he is thrown into a well, and there are like 4,000 rats crawling around, you know, and so it's all terrible. That's what I wanted to stress at the beginning, like the confusion, you know, and it's like you're underwater. That kind of feeling, you know.
Yeah.
Where am I? That's the first measure, and then comes a very in the percussion. You hear the train for quite some time. That train is the train that little boy saw almost every day. The train going to Auschwitz.
Yes. Yes.
But of course, the boy didn't know that there were people in it. So, but that's why I brought the train into the piece, just symbolic for.
Yes.
And it comes to a halt at the end, very dramatic. Stop. Arrived. Well, you know what came next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's dark subject matter.
It's very dark.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've never written such dark piece in my life.
But
or political.
I can't wait to hear it though. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely
maybe
incredible.
We should talk after the performance on the 27th.
Yeah,
I'd like to hear your opinion. Yeah.
Oh, I definitely we will do. So let's move on to slightly happier events.
Yes, please.
Johan, you came to prominence within the brass band world back in 2005 with one of my favourite pieces, Extreme Makeover. It was just stunning. You've just recently done a project with the Grindthorpe Band.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we didn't record Extreme Makeover because that has been done several times.
Sure.
We recorded all my other music for brass band, including 3 movements of Lord of the Rings, which I also wrote during COVID for brass band.
Yes.
After 34 years. But I only did movement 1, 4 and 5 because in particular 2 and 3 are too much for wind orchestra, you know,
Sure.
all the woodwind solos and movement 3 with the soprano saxophone, you cannot replace that instrument. I mean the golem, I mean you could do it on cornet, but it would not get the effect that I want from the soprano saxophone with the glissandos and the special effects. So I decided just to do 1, 4 and 5, and that works very well. And we also did Brand Attema was a soloist in Canticles, a piece that I wrote for my dear friend Ben van Dijk, who just retired from the Rotterdam Philharmonic Orchestra, but I've known him since I was 15. So I've known this man for 53 years now. But in 2007 I wrote a piece for him called Canticles, which is dedicated to his father, Piet van Dijk, who was also a phenomenal trombone player and my most influential teacher on both trombone and euphonium.
Wow.
Who passed away in 2003 and was such a lovely man. It was almost like a second father to me. And I decided to dedicate the piece to Piet van Dijk and Ben. And he played it several times, but he just retired, and Brand Attema was kind enough to take over the recording. So we made a beautiful recording of the brass band version. It started with a wind version, but it works actually very well with brass band. Maybe even better.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
And that's going to be released later on this year.
Yeah, and then we have some shorter pieces on it. The Sinfonietta number 1, which was conducted by David Thornton.
Yes.
He did half of the CD, I did the other half. And we worked together fabulously. It was wonderful. I was also able to visit the Whit Friday, which I didn't know about, but it was fantastic.
I've heard about your adventures on Whit Friday, and
maybe we should explain what it is.
Of course, it's an English tradition.
It's in Yorkshire.
It's on the villages between Lancashire and Yorkshire border, and it started off as a religious ceremony.
Yes.
It was the Whit Friday church parades, and all the parades would have a band at the start of the parade in the morning, and then the bands had nothing to do. So way back in the late 1900s, early 20th century, they started having competitions between the band, and that's how the band contest part of it started off. But now it's just a huge festival, an event, terrific for all the bands that are involved.
Away. And they go
village to village.
Coaches, yeah,
with the coaches. Yeah, it's
I heard the Fairy Band. They were phenomenal.
Yes.
All the bands were good. I mean, they were all so. They really.
Oh, they take it seriously. They do a lot of preparation for this.
Yeah, and there's some money involved. I think
there's some money involved, which always helps.
But anyway, and it was a beautiful day, so I had a ball, and I actually played with one of the brass bands. I forgot the name, but Chris is the conductor. You know him.
Chris Binns.
Yeah, Chris Binns, yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure who was conducting. Maybe the Hebden Bridge Band. Could be wrong, but
yes. Anyway, but it was fabulous, and I marched with them and I played trombone. You know.
Well, if you're gonna get a secret player in, you might as well get one of the best trombonists in that's around. So brass band fans all around the world, Johan, will be screaming in my ear to ask you, when are we going to get a next Johan de Meij major test piece?
To be honest, I don't know if I ever want to write the test piece again, because it was quite a challenge, you know?
Yes.
And this is not a secret. When I delivered Extreme Makeover, the EBA, you know, the European Brass Band Association, they said, no.
Really?
It's too difficult. It's too long. The bottles, forget it. You can't do that. I said, why not? I had a tough discussion, and I really had to put my feet down.
Yeah.
I said, I don't think it's too difficult if I compare it with the pieces of Wilby or
of course.
Bourgeois.
Yeah.
Now it's played in the third division. You know.
Exactly.
Anyway, but the thing was, it was different.
It was.
It was different than other test pieces. But I told them ahead of time that if I am going to write a test piece, it's going to be different. It's not going to be with the soprano cornet solo, the euphonic solo to the high G, you know.
Yeah.
Then everybody's waiting that he misses, and there goes a point, you know. It's not about sport, you know. It's about music. So I said, I'm going to do something different. And that middle section was on purpose. I wanted 3 minutes not hear the brass band.
Yeah.
And that's why the cadenza or the solos is in marimba, and not in the brass instrument.
But it works so well.
Yes,
it
I
works
also
so
wanted to bring
well.
the percussion a little more to the forefront, you know, because they don't have such a big role, and now they have, you know.
Yeah, well, as a percussionist, thank you.
Oh, you were okay. So it was a real tough discussion. I said, sorry, I'm not going to change it.
No.
Yeah, the bottles you shoot cornets with mute. Yeah, I could have thought about that, but I want something different.
Yes.
And I said the only thing they have to do is make a sound on a bottle, one sound, and it's on the beat or after the beat. That's all they have to do.
Yeah.
So and the musicians loved it.
Yeah, they did.
Nick Childs called me. I was still living in Amsterdam. I said, "Can you give some advice?" I said, "I would hire a flute player, you know, who can exactly explain the embouchure, because that's what it is, or a pan flute, you know."
Yes.
And the musicians didn't complain at all, and they loved it.
Yeah, they did. I played it. I loved it.
I know, and I said, it's not a joke. It's music, and if it's played well, that's the most difficult part of the whole piece, I think.
Yes.
The flutes and the marimba, boom, 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 boom. It must be in tune, you know. So. Later on, and after the premiere, it was a big success.
Huge success.
Black Bike won, and the biggest compliment for the piece is that it remained on the repertoire of brass bands.
Yes, and still remains on there.
Yeah, and I also made a wind version after that, which gets played a lot, and it has become one of my most beloved pieces.
I know.
It was chosen most favorite test piece since 2003 in England. So
yes.
That was huge for me. Yeah.
Absolutely, but it's just a terrific piece of music, Johan. And I hope that eventually you'll come around to writing another one for brass band. But more to the immediate, what's next for you after WMC?
I have 2 more commissions. One is for the United States Marine Band. It was supposed to be played in Prague and in Innsbruck and Kerkrade. But I asked Jason Fedek if I could do the Painted Bird, because as an artist, I wanted to say something, you know, and I've never been political in my works. This time I am, or I'm speaking out, against fascism at all. I'm not going to say that to the audience, no, they should just do, it will probably be in the program notes, but and then I have a small commission, and then I'm commissioned to write Symphony Number 6 for the Noord-Nederlands Orkest, the NNO Symphony Orchestra. So I have no brass band plans at the moment, unfortunately, but there will be more. I think with the CD of Grime Thorpe, I think I will be inspired to write more for brass, but I'm not sure if it will be a test piece.
Okay.
Just a good piece of music,
Yes, yeah.
And it may turn into a test piece, but writing a test piece is there's so many, it has to be super difficult, for everybody. Not only the cornets, no, everybody has
to have their part.
Everybody has to bleed.
Yes.
and
they usually do.
Yeah. So, I will certainly write for brass band or brass ensemble. I've done a lot of brass ensemble stuff too with brass and percussion. But no, I don't think I will ever accept a test piece. Certainly not for the highest division.
Okay.
It's too much stress.
Okay. Well, that's our loss, but not to worry. Johan, it's been an absolute pleasure to spend time with you this morning.
Thank you, Martin.
Thanks for your time, and thanks for all genius works that you've given us. And we can't wait for the 27th of July with the President's Own Marine Band. It'll be stunning.
Fantastic.
Thanks a lot, Johan.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
Take care.
Our huge thanks to Johan de Meij. What a terrific guy to spend some time with. And yes, he is a genius. It would be very remiss of us during today's show not to mark the sudden and untimely passing of Bramwell Tovey. Bram, as most people know him as, and particularly in the UK and Canada, was renowned as not only a conductor, a composer, an arranger, but also as a gentleman who was so generous with everybody with his time, was a joy to work with, and just a model human being, and as a musician, really amongst the very, very elite. And it is a sad day that Bram has passed way too early, but heaven has gained a new conductor of the highest order, and our huge condolences and sympathies go to Bram's family and his close friends. And I know Facebook was awash last night and today with wonderful memories and wonderful tributes to Bram. It's a sign of just what a great man he was. Rest in peace, Bram. During last night's concert, we heard the Califax Quintet. Well, tonight's concert is also going to feature the Califax Quintet over in the Rhoda Hall this time, and it is a fusion of wind and dance, and it promises to be totally different than last night, with huge spotlights and accents and a very contemporary, different feel to it. We are very, very excited about this concert. If you want to join us tonight, please go to www.live.wmc.nl, and if you can't join us tonight, it will be available as catch-up from tomorrow morning. And so to the competition weekend. Friday, Saturday and Sunday is the second weekend of competition here at the WMC. On Friday from the Rhoda Hall, we have the percussion ensembles, the second division plus the magnificent concert division. These ensembles are amongst the finest percussion ensembles in the world, bringing different repertoire, new repertoire. You will really, really enjoy this. On Saturday, it's the turn of the fanfare bands and the first appearance in the competition of the wind bands. On Saturday we have the second division of the fanfare section and also the beginning, the set work of the wind band first division. And then on to Sunday we're into the third division of the fanfare bands and the conclusion, the own choice programme of the wind bands in the first division. It's going to be one heck of a busy weekend. We're also now going to be catching up with Ivan Mailmans on the WMC conducting course. He's giving some master classes today, so we're going to scoot off and go do some filming with Ivan, and we'll bring you that on Monday's WMC Daily. Remember, for everything involving WMC, go to wmc.nl. For everything on live streaming and catch up, go to live.wmc.nl. For all the competing bands and musicians this weekend, the very best of luck. For everybody else, take care in these hot temperatures. We're going to be expecting temperatures of 35 to 38 degrees here in Cacrada next week. But do not worry, the Speedos are staying away. Bye-bye for now.